How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, you know, my royal family, I am hot and heavy on the Amber Guyger murder trial. And so my royal family, I was just kicking back a few hours ago, and I was listening to this audio on the Dallas Morning News. And I've already put the link to this, but I'll put it again. And so I was listening to part 4, and something stood out in their commentary that made me go back and do some deep research. We'll listen to this last, my royal family. So, let's go here first. So we know this pig here is Mike Mata, spelled M-A-T-A. And he is the one that's been bitching about all of a sudden that they need to delay this trial another 60 or 90 days. Well, I found some audio where he bitching and crying again, and he lying too. And now I think I have figured out why they have been going out of their way to cover and protect this murderous bitch who purposely murdered Botham Jean. I'm going to point it out. It was something that I missed. I had to go back and read some old articles, and I honestly overlooked this, but now it stands out. So first and foremost, also, make yourself known, because somebody said when I did the video yesterday that since they got a vast concern about this particular case, why they ain't concerned about all the other cases they gonna have that the police have to protect too as well. There's other cases going on. See, they be slipping, they disingenuous. That's why it takes collectively all of us in the royal family to put our input. I can't do it by myself. I need my family. So I thank y'all and I appreciate y'all. Any little thing y'all find, email me. Y'all know I'm going to research the hell out of it. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I am, my royal family. So we're going to listen to Mike Mata, bitch and moan on this show. Who's this show? What is this guy's name called? Rick Roberts. He always got some very racist shit to say. But I just noticed, I'm not going to say technically out the blue, but they done pushed him forth. All of this is done purposely. All of this is orchestrated. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to point it out to the royal family, what's really going on. Oh, you're going to be, you might be surprised, my royal family. You might not. Maybe you caught it long ago. But, you know, I ain't going to be sitting up here acting like I'm on top of everything. What I'm going to point out, y'all going to go, damn. Now this all makes sense.
You know, I've been waiting for this day to see how this thing would play out. And of course, you know, I don't have the fair on my calendar, but, you know, it would be different if we had some leadership in the city of Dallas for the last few years, and we weren't hundreds and hundreds of police officers short. I mean, just for every day without the fair. You know, the fair, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's got to be hundreds of thousands of people coming in. And law enforcement resources. I mean, on a daily basis, law enforcement resources are stretched pretty thin. You know, what difference is 30, 60, 90 days going to make to start this trial? With me is the president of Dallas' largest police union, Mike Mata, you've heard him on the show many times. Thanks for being with me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Rick. I appreciate it.
All right. Am I missing something here aside from, and this is I'm not speaking for you or anybody else. This Lee Merritt, quoting Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., justice delayed is justice denied. And, that's all great for a civil rights attorney. But, I mean, let's, put all that to the side for a second. I know it's sound bites that the news stations love to pick up. What does this mean as far as the citizens of Dallas? Our guys men and women are already stretched too thin. How many people extra does the fair bring in?
Well, first of all, let me comment on Mr. Merritt's quote of Martin Luther King. First of all, Martin Luther King was a great leader, but he believed in peaceful protest. He didn't believe in violence. Violence never solved anything. So for him to use a statement from the good doctor and misquote or misuse it in that way, I think is very disrespectful.
I think it is too, and I'm trying not to.
Let me stop that for a minute. First and foremost, the motherfucker don't even know how to pronounce his last name. It's Mata, M-A-T-A. All right, and Mike Mata is full of shit. You don't give a fuck about Martin Luther King, and the police force throughout the United States is based on violence. Everything is based on violence with y'all. Y'all so disingenuous. Y'all don't give a fuck about us or anybody else. Y'all think that y'all some type of God, because you got a badge and a motherfucking gun. See, he wanted them that I call the enemy supporters. They're even worse. They're even worse because they will do the dirty work for the enemy, and they know how treacherous the enemy is. So they're going to make sure they overdo shit to continue to appease the enemy. My royal family, y'all already see that these videos going to be long. They're going to be hard hitting and everything. Oh yeah, I'm covering everything on this. Yes, I'm fully invested in it. And I'm going to pick a motherfucker apart tonight.
Pile on this guy that every time he opens his mouth, it's like, man, this is not helping.
He followed it with a tweet that said nobody from his office or nobody from the family will advocate for peace. That's a horrible thing
Wow.
for somebody to say. And so, and in a second breath, and then quote, one of the most peaceful protesters, one of the peaceful activists this country has ever had the pleasure of having lead, I think is outlandish in itself. So, but to your original question, yes, we're going to have over 1 million people coming to the city of Dallas, and they expect to be protected. And let me be real clear about something else that Mr. Merritt has changed the narrative to. This is not for me to ask for a delay. I've already asked for it. I asked for a delay months ago. I had a conversation with the DA almost 2 months ago regarding this problem and this instance and this situation that could come up. So this trial will start on the 23rd. So this is not for me a call to action to delay this trial. This was a statement by me so that the masses and so those political heads know that I made it known that I asked for this to be delayed way before this jury was ever seated, because I knew the amount of officers we were short. And you got to remember, the police department, we plan for the worst, but we pray for the best.
Sure.
So we have to plan that something will go wrong. We have to plan that we will have multiple protests. We have to plan that there possibly could be some violence, because we have to be prepared for that. And it doesn't help to have to prepare for something that, one, in any day normal circumstances, we don't have the manpower to handle. And we definitely don't have the manpower to handle when we have 100 to 200 officers that are assigned to the fair.
Yeah, see, this is what I don't understand. I mean, from a legal perspective, what difference is 30, 60, 90 days going to make other than perhaps more focus on the trial and less on those things that you have to deploy resources to? I mean, am I thinking wrong here?
No, Rick, I want you to ask any defense attorney, any prosecutor, any past judge. It is very, very common. It is very common to have a case reset for whatever reasons. Delaying a case or resetting of a case is nothing new. Matter of fact, it's very abnormal for a case not to have one, if not several, resets. So the fact that this one didn't have any, that is what is abnormal. That what shows a political bias in this. And that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong with the whole court system, that any judge, that any DA, any of them should.
You lying motherfucker. You lying motherfucker. This case already had a delay. You dusty bitch. You lying through your motherfucking teeth. I can't stand a motherfucker like that. Just sit up and just blatantly lie like that. This case has had a delay. Because one of them old white supremacist ass attorneys had another case. Got me fucked up. It's already been a delay in this motherfucker.
To be affiliated with any political party, because then politics play a role in the justice system, and it shouldn't. And that's where we are today.
Yeah, I've been seeing people's, well, we need to get this going and get it over because of all the media hysteria. You know, last time I was in Dallas, I had the family, including the husband, in my studio, the Darley Routier case out of Rockwall. Yeah, there was media hysteria with that. You know, the Van Dam case, which, based on some connections I had, family and otherwise, I knew who the murderer was about 3 weeks before they arrested him, and I had to play it very close to the vest and not jeopardize a prosecution. I've seen media hysteria. I don't see media hysteria. What I see is, forgive me, this is my opinion, no one else's, I see a civil rights attorney playing the Sharpton card. It doesn't make sense to the people of Dallas. This is about the people of Dallas. It's not about what the Police Officers Association wants to do. It's not about what anybody else wants to do. It's about your job is protecting the lives and property of the people that live here year round, not just during fair time. And if you don't have enough people, you don't have enough people.
Well, and the thing is he wants to make it about money. The only person that seems to be involved with money is himself. You know, we have people. I am not worried about the citizens of Dallas. I respect the citizens of Dallas that they will do the right thing. It's those individuals who will come into this city who are making a name off this case, who make a living off this case. And they make a living and make a name off havoc and chaos. And during the fair, we have over 1 million people that we have to protect them and the citizens of this city during that time. And I got news for the DA and the judge. They are elected officials. And as elected officials of the county, they are required to protect the public, whether it's putting criminals in jail or making the right decisions that doesn't put the community at undue risk.
Exactly. Precisely.
It would have made no difference if this case was delayed 30 days or 60 days. They could have done it by a stroke of a pen 3-4 months ago, and nobody would have known the difference.
Exactly. Let's get this fair and 1 million extra bodies walking around. Get this taken care of. Now we can focus on the trial. That's just common sense.
Unless there's a political slant to it.
Exactly.
So, you know, I'm all about finding justice, and justice will be found in that courtroom, and it will be found by those 12 jurors, and they will make the ultimate decision. And she will either be found guilty of a crime, or she'll be found innocent of a crime, or whatever may happen. But the point of the matter is that we have a responsibility to protect the public. Mr. Merritt doesn't care about the public. He cares about himself. And that's where we differ.
Exactly. I got 2 final questions. Talking with Mike Mata, he's on the show quite a bit. President of Dallas, the largest police union. Number one, do you think this trial should have been moved out of Dallas?
Well, I think if anybody says that this hasn't had major media attention and that nobody knows anything about this case and has any preconceived ideas, I think that's foolish in thinking that. You know, yes, I do believe that it should have been in a different county. I think it would have been a fairer trial. I think it wouldn't have been so much of a media circus that it is today. But, you know, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I believe in the system.
You got to deal with what you got to deal with. Well, that pretty much answers my next question. If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. Do you believe Amber Guyger, in the current state that we're in right now, trying to keep all these balls in the air with a million extra people in the city, do you think Amber Guyger can get a fair trial in Dallas, Texas?
I sure hope so. You know, like I said, I go to work every day, and so does the other 3,000 members of this department. I believe in a court system that when it's all said and done, the right thing will happen. I hope that these 12 juries will look at the facts of the case, and only the facts of the case, and exactly what the charge is of the crime that she's being charged with, and decide whether she's guilty or innocent.
Right.
This trial is not about making up for past ills. It's not about making rights for wrongs that might have happened 100 years ago, 50 years ago, last year, or even worse, in another state that has nothing to do with the city of Dallas.
Oh, man.
I have faith in the citizens of the city of Dallas, and that the right thing will happen.
Yeah, that was very well said. Mike Mata, president of the Dallas...
Okay, I'm done with his disingenuous, racist motherfucking ass. Now, let me finish this part. When they have fairs like that, my royal family, they use police also in the surrounding counties. They'll use the sheriff department. They'll use everybody on that. That's it, and that's all. That's a no-brainer. But this motherfucker is disingenuous. And when he came rearing up his head like a snake, I'm always thinking deep. I think my dear father would always tell me to do my own thinking. And I said, okay, we know he's involved in this. I'm saying to myself, we know that he's involved in this some kind of way, you know, because they didn't get what they wanted to have it in a different county. Okay, we already know that the Amber Guyger's 3 six-figure attorneys leaked that shit out. So they pissed with the black woman because she's controlling the narrative to some extent. All right, so I'm just wondering. Okay, the audio that I'm gonna have y'all listen at last brought me to the point where I had to go back and start digging into some stuff. So, I'm going to read it to y'all right now. So, I went over here on Heavy. Make sure I get the date right. I know it was sometime last year. Excuse me for that, family. Should have my stuff together. Do they have a date on this? All right. Okay, November 30th, 2018, all right? So, something really popped out. Now, y'all gonna hear it later, but I'm gonna read it. Okay, let's get here. Like I said, you can miss some stuff. I'm gonna read this little piece for y'all so we can fully digest what I'm going to point out to the royal family. Where is that stuff at right here? Let's see. Okay. I lost my little ass spot, but that's all right. I'm going to find it because it's very crucial that I read this. Let's see where is that shit at? Let's see here. Did I go down too far? Okay. Found it. Thank you, Father. So I read here, it said the Dallas Morning News reports that Guyger was the sole woman selected to serve on a elite critical response team of about 10 officers who make high-risk arrests in the division's crime hotspot. I said, oh shit. Now they were talking about that on the audio and I froze. I said elite critical response, and she was the sole woman selected amongst men. So I find this article. Oh, shit. Okay, let's see if we can refresh this sucker, because this is very important. So this article, I'm always wanting to find dates. They be moving that shit around. Okay, September 8th, 2018. So I'm reading the article. Seeing what I can pick up in the article. Bam, I found it. Dallas Police Association. Let me calm down. Slow down, Kim. Slow down. Dallas Police Association President Mike Mattia said Guyger is a very dedicated officer who has done an amazing job in her short time with the Dallas Police Department. Now think about it, my royal family. This bitch was selected to be on an elite task force. And what stands out is that it's still a man's world. I work with men, and many of y'all know that. I'm a welder. And see, this is where we need male energy. What would have some men pick out a woman? They selected her to be a part of an elite force, and there's no more than about 10 of them. There is something that you would have to demonstrate, that something would have to stand out about you, that they say, this is the one that we want a part of our team. We know that if anybody is in that type of group where they're a special elite and they are selected, then they are like a family or a gang, and they stay on code. They live by the code. They die by the code. Because I've been thinking for the longest, why somebody would go out of the way for that little scrawny, knot up little bitch? Ain't nobody fucking her. We grown. We gonna keep it real raw up in here, because they didn't want her for no ass. Nah, I can guarantee you that. In me working with men, as long as I have seen women who come in the trades and think that they have to outdo a man in order to maintain her job. The difference between me and another woman coming in the trades, that's the only work I ever did was construction. So I didn't have shit to prove. I just worked. Opposed to a woman will come from a corporate or anything in-house. We're just keeping it real. So there is a difference. And there are women like me like that. That's the only thing we have done. I work with my hands. And I've seen women do this. And I'll be like, damn, girlfriend, you're putting too much on it. Just do your job. That's it, and that's all. So she's special, elite. And you can imagine, she really put herself up on a pedestal when they selected her. She was like, oh, me? Oh, yeah. I'm part of this special elite force. They got dirt on each other. Think about it. Think about it. So this disingenuous, bully, fat motherfucker is covering for her. Because they in his ass. And they say, you do whatever you can do. See if you can monkey up the shit or anything. Now, I've been reading that they are encouraging the white supremacists to come out and protest. Because I even had said, before we got deeper into this, a while back. I said, damn, they not protesting as much as I thought they would. But then I thought some of these protesters are getting on code because they already knew they was trying to change the venue. So they just kept it at a low tick. And even the white supremacist white boy on that station, he even sort of mentioned it. So now this motherfucker want to stir the pot. And then he got his 2 cents to add in it. And that is unprofessional. He should have kept his motherfucking mouth shut. He ain't running shit. He ain't nothing more than a mere puppet. Because I guarantee you there's a white supremacist got their hand shoved up his ass telling him what to do and how to do it. And the only thing he say, how they do it, when, how, what, when, and where. Oh yeah, we're going to get core in this, my royal family. The commentary that I'm going to bring going to be raw. Going to have a whole lot of fire on it. Because I've been waiting. And I've been feeling some kind of way. But I'm patient. Real patient. So now it's all tying in. So as we continue on, my royal family, we're going to listen to episode 4. And it's of our audio report on Amber Guyger murder trial. What evidence will the jury hear?
For the Dallas Morning News, I'm Christopher Wynn. This is part 4 of a special report, The Death of Botham Jean, Amber Guyger on Trial. If you haven't listened to the previous episodes, go back and start from the beginning to get the whole story. And please note, this episode contains mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. Testimony begins Monday in the trial of fired Dallas police officer Amber Guyger. She shot and killed Botham Jean in his apartment south of downtown.
Jean was inside his apartment when Guyger, a Dallas officer at the time, shot and killed Jean after her shift. She told investigators she thought she was in her apartment and that Jean was an intruder. Back in September, Texas Rangers filed a manslaughter charge against Guyger, but a grand jury indicted her for murder instead, believing evidence shows she intentionally and knowingly killed Jean.
Jennifer Emily is covering the Amber Guyger trial for the Dallas Morning News. Welcome back, Jen.
Hello.
So, last time we talked about how Amber Guyger might defend herself at the trial. Now we're looking at what evidence the jury might hear.
One big piece of evidence is the 911 call Guyger made after shooting Jean.
Okay, we have help on the way. I know, but I'm gonna lose my job. I thought it was my apartment. Okay, and hey, man. Hold on. Fuck. Okay, stay with me, okay? I need supervisor.
In the call, she sounds panicked about Jean's injuries and worried about her job as a police officer. It will be interesting to see how the jurors react when they hear it.
Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Oh, fuck. I thought it was my apartment. I understand. We have help on the way, okay? One more. Hurry, please. They're on their way.
I had a conversation with Dana Branham. She's a writer on our breaking news desk, and she's reported on this story with me for the past year. We've both followed the case closely, and we're expecting to now finally get some answers. Here's Dana talking about the evidence that's already been submitted for the trial.
They're going to hear and see a number of things. We know that some evidence that was admitted at a hearing recently includes Amber Guyger's gun, the gun used in the shooting, some bullet casings, a projectile that was recovered from the autopsy. That wasn't specified, so we don't know exactly what that's going to be. We also know that there's going to be plenty of photos that were entered into evidence. Those will probably show the crime scene. There's some information that we know about what the scene looked like. We know that those are going to show pictures of the door, since that was a piece of the night that was in question. Surely there will be photos of blood on the floor and things like that. We know from a search warrant that a bullet-resistant vest was found in Botham Jean's apartment, a backpack with police equipment and paperwork inside, and some used packages of medical aid. So we imagine that the crime scene photos are going to show some of those items in his apartment.
And so another thing that we're likely going to see is the electronic lock data. Both Botham Jean, who lived in apartment 1478, and Amber Guyger, who was in 1378, had electronic locks. So in theory, anytime those doors were unlocked or locked, there should be a recording of that. It will depend on if the locks were working, how that they weren't overridden, the information overridden. And so we could find out what Amber Guyger said to police, that the door was unlocked. When I put my key in, it pushed the door open. I thought it was my apartment. I thought he was a burglar. Whether that door lock data supports that story. And that's something we don't know. That could come out for the first time in the trial.
Something else that the jury will likely hear about is Amber Guyger's work schedule and her training as a police officer. Something that we heard in the first couple of days after the shooting is that Guyger got off of a really long shift and was returning home after the number has sort of fluctuated, maybe a 12-hour shift or a 15-hour shift, but the jury will likely hear how long that shift was, what kind of work Guyger did at the police department. We know, because law enforcement has told us before, that she was on this elite crime response team in the department's Southeast Division, and it's about 10 officers who make high-risk arrests in crime hotspots. So they'll hear more about her training and details about her time at the police department. Something else the jury may hear about are social media and phone records for both Amber Guyger and Botham Jean. A Texas Rangers investigator got a search warrant for information on Amber Guyger's cell phone. That would include her call and text records, any voicemails, photos, location data, and anything else they may find in apps and emails. They also will be able to look into her Pinterest account, and the warrant there was also a warrant for Botham Jean's phone, his laptop, his Facebook account, and there was also a warrant for the Southside Flats Apartments Facebook account. That's the apartment complex where they both lived.
And Guyger could have also consented to have her own apartment searched, because again, there's no search warrant for that, but it is likely and expected that her apartment would also be searched. She was that night she admitted shooting Botham Jean and was charged with manslaughter a little while later, and then ultimately indicted for murder, which is what the jury will be deciding whether she's guilty or not guilty of, or guilty of a lesser crime potentially.
So, Jen, will Amber Guyger testify and clear up some of these questions?
That's another thing that isn't known. I can tell you that most defendants I've seen in all the trials I've watched and written about don't testify, often because their lawyers advised against it. But some defendants see it as their only chance to sway jurors to their side. Last year, Balch Springs police officer Roy Oliver testified in another Dallas County courtroom when he was tried for killing 15-year-old Jordan Edwards. I was in the courtroom and watched Oliver testify. He did a pretty good job explaining his story, but ultimately the jury convicted him of murder and sentenced him to 15 years in prison. Amber Guyger can decide at the last minute whether to take the stand, but if she doesn't, the judge will tell the jurors they can't hold it against her. If she does, she'll be cross-examined by an experienced prosecutor. We also don't know how comfortable she feels about public speaking. That's hard for a lot of people, and can be a reason for defendants not to testify.
And we'll see what happens next in court. Jen, thank you.
Thanks.
Please help support our journalism and new projects like this one.
Okay, my royal family. So, let me go back over here. So I've been saying that based on a person's profession, I hold them to a higher standard. Now that takes it to a whole nother level where she's in a special elite force. She didn't volunteer, she was selected because something about her stood out amongst men. So that tells me, we see how short and little she is. She got a Napoleon complex, and she willing to go that extra mile. And she didn't totally take down her Pinterest when she was scrubbing her social media, and things were indicated that she was very nasty. She has shot a person before, and some of her cases have been thrown out. And so, let's go back over here. So this fat motherfucker, he mentioned there's about 3,000 on the police force. So he knows her well because she's in that special elite force, no more than mere 10. And so in an article last year, he praises her. Basically said she is a young, dedicated officer who has done an amazing job in her short time. And it's like anything in life. You have certain cliques and groups. And she was a part of that clique. That special, elite, critical. You know, they putting a whole lot on it. And you know, I have a tendency to over exaggerate shit too, to irritate the enemy and the enemy supporters. Don't you feel me as I control you? Wait till I get to the main channel. I'm gonna slay you, bitch. Oh yes, and I'll take joy in it. So my royal family, I'm presenting what I'm presenting. So do what you do. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.